Hello and welcome to another episode on the Cannabis Tourism Chronicles show with your host, Brendon Roberts. I am a celebrated agribusiness expert and award-winning consultant, and also the author of Cannabis Development. Cannabis Development is a social science guide exploring the intersection of cannabis, society, and the humanities. And today we have a very special guest. And our guest today is Mr. Deontae Mack, who is also the CEO of VibesBnB, which also offers an inclusive cannabis sort of market space. And we're going to learn about his business and offerings in the hospitality sector for the cannabis travel economy. Without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Mack to the show.
How you guys doing?
Nice to have you today, Mr. Deontae Mack, and the owner and CEO of Vibes B&B, which also offers a cannabis-friendly market space. And, give us a brief history of where you're joining us today. We know that you're in Florida and there is a hurricane, Hurricane Milton to be exact, passing over Florida, and you're here to also help promote your business. You're safe, thankfully. Your county has not received an evacuation order. And tell us about your experience in preparing for the hurricane and a little about your background, who you are, what made you come into the cannabis space and offer offerings into the hospitality and travel economy.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan. Amazing opportunity. Thank you guys for having me. This is pretty cool. First, Miami is always a target for hurricanes every year around August, September, October. Those are like the low seasons of the short-term rental industry. So we're always hunkered down and preparing for, possible annihilation every year, So luckily, uh, prayers and safety for people on the west coast of Florida right now, Tampa, Sarasota. A lot of them checked into the residence that I live at called the Gale Residences here. It's a short-term rental building with over 400 Airbnb hosts here. So we had a pretty busy day checking in people that were escaping the storm. And, Miami gets lucky here. We're the #1 city in the world, so we got spared this time. So, glad to be here, happy to be here, safe, on the 28th floor. And just preparing, just kind of waiting the news and seeing what's happening. Just to get right into it, my name's Dion. I'm the founder of this amazing journey, I like to call, that I've been on for the last 8 years. Started in 2016, got into the Airbnb space when I got my first bedroom apartment in Hollywood, Florida, 2 bedrooms. My story kind of starts around, really being a host on Airbnb. And, my first 50 reservations were people booking my space. And then instantly, maybe half of those reservations during my first time being a host was just giving me their concerns about how hosts on Airbnb were kicking them out and dismissing them because they brought this wonderful flower called cannabis to the space. So it was the first time I had really noticed a common problem in the marketplace where a lot of people were talking to me about this problem. And me being a younger entrepreneur, millennial generation, something that I grew up with and understood, why my generation used it. I didn't have a problem as a host inviting these people into my home. A lot of them were just coming from recreational states or medical states where they already had an implemental program, and it was a lifestyle choice for them. It was the norm in some of these other states like Vegas and Florida and Colorado and New York and California. And it just dawned on me that maybe this is something that I could pursue that would end up having a profound impact on my career, of which it absolutely did 8 years now later in 2024. What I noticed was shortly after I started accepting these reservations, later that year in 2016 in November, they put Amendment 3 out in Florida, which made it officially medical in Florida. So now people had a legit reason to have cannabis in their hands, right? And I just noticed that after 2016, when it became medical, all of a sudden I started getting more and more inquiries for, hey, I love your space. I see that it's 420 friendly. I was looking for a space. And, for 2 to 3 years straight, I would get over 90% occupancy at my 1-2 bedroom unit. But over the years, I ended up getting more units and investing more of my money into property management and arbitrage model, rental arbitrage, to the point where I saw it as a legit business model. It was, the question that I asked myself is, where do you go to book a 420 friendly reservation? Here in Florida, there was no such thing because we had just legalized it medically, and the medical cards were only accessible to people who were within the state. So you had to live here and be a Florida resident in order to get a medical card to go to the dispensaries here. So that provided an interesting challenge for Airbnb guests that were coming from recreational states to come here to Florida. Where's the first place that they check in? A hotel or Airbnb. So when people came to my Airbnb that was labeled 420 friendly, one of the first questions that they asked is, hey, where can I find some good bud down here? And usually I would direct them to the dispensaries, but the dispensary said, hey, we can't accept you, sorry. And then that was that. And then, people still found a way to get it on their own. Black market in Florida is billions of dollars. So people would go find it on their own, and then they would come check into my place. And then they say, hey, is it cool if I, smoke here? And I'm like, yeah, man, I don't see a problem. It never bothered my reservations because unlike cigarette smoke, cannabis is really easy to clean up the smell afterwards. I always told my guests, you boil a pot of coffee, it'll be gone in 2 hours before your next guest comes in. So between doing regular reservations on Airbnb and then these cannabis style reservations, I never had a problem intermingling the two to where I was still able to make money from both sides. And as I grew upon the business, 2017, 2018, 2019, I ended up just continuing that business model, approaching landlords and owners and asking them, hey, you should be more open to these wellness travelers that have this need and is a lifestyle choice that come from these recreational states. So I would always pitch to different owners that I think this is a valuable market that you should be a part of. And I was able to do that quite convincingly to where, I was able to gather 8 years later, I have, 36 states signed up to our marketplace with over 2,000 users that have downloaded the mobile application that we launched on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, and over 363 listings in these states. So what that told me as an entrepreneur is that I solved a problem in the marketplace and that there was a real application to cannabis tourism becoming emerging market. So of course, I got some teammates together, received some startup capital investment from one of these angel investors that I brought on board, and we were able to launch a mobile app called 420BnB on 4/20/2021. So it's been 3 years now. And then that kind of started a brand new space as an entrepreneur for me and as an African-American, as someone who understood the impact of the war on drugs and how that affected our community. My personal goal was to build a marketplace that I could run my own way and help my own community in my own way. Maybe I couldn't help somebody for a month or two, but for a few days, just so that they would be comfortable when they came down here. I thought that was a great business model. And obviously it resonated with the marketplace to the point where, 2022, I had a personal best of, 6-figure numbers. And it just showed me that 2016, when I made that decision to put 420 friendly in my description on Airbnb, had a profound impact on my career. So I was able to take that and continue to grow. And 2023 started receiving a lot of accreditation in the marketplace. CNBC, Yahoo News, Travel Nowhere, just some travel pages and people out there that appreciate young entrepreneurs. I was just been able to be a part of the marketplace and be nominated for different things. Startup World Cup, which I was just a part of. I was one of the top 60 founders in Miami for my startup idea. And then it just continued to, now it continues to grow in the marketplace. And 8 years later, here we are in Florida with recreational marijuana on the ballot. So I think I'm at the precipice of innovation. And I think that going into 2025 with Florida recreationalizing its marketplace, you have 110 million visitors that visit Florida every year. So we believe as a company that you're going to have at least 30 million people that have cannabis style interests and will go straight to these dispensaries, and they don't need a medical card now. So now, just like other states, you'll be able to check right into the dispensary, go grab your flower, go grab your smoking apparatuses and things like that, and then where are you going to go with those items? Straight to the hotels and straight to Airbnb. What I realized on Airbnb is you go to the marketplace and you put smoking allowed, and over 90% of the properties drop off. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, maybe I should build a marketplace that allows you to have cannabis style experiences. And then my job would be acquisition and finding hosts that want to cater to lifestyle experiences. It's not about smoking. It's not about getting high. It's more about being in a safe space where you can find other people who have similar interests with, who you are. Me specifically, I did private room, hostel bed and breakfasts. So my model was renting a 6-bedroom home and having individual rooms where I was renting to, couples and groups of 3. And then I would have this whole cannabis vibe experience in my house to where people would intermingle with each other. And the icebreaker was we all were in the cannabis industry. We all had different reasons why we consumed and why we educated ourselves around the cannabis industry. I've had cannabis businesses, dispensaries, cultivation centers, growers, different vertical markets that all booked my space, and we were all able to collaborate and talk about just this growing industry, how we had similarities, and that was the icebreaker, and I think ultimately why I was able to deliver a 5-star experience. So it's been a really cool journey, and now, just a couple days ago, Sean Roby from Bud and Breakfast in Colorado, he's agreed to team up with VibesBnB, and we kind of push the market forward. So it's been truly profound for me to just be able to be in a space where I'm able to put my foot in the door with an idea that I started with just, a couple guests telling me what their problem was. I feel like I've always been an entrepreneur that was very business oriented. I went to FIU, got a degree in IT with a minor in business administration, and I was always able to apply myself in the marketplace. So as soon as I graduated in 2016, immediately getting into Airbnb, and when I saw that problem, I was immediately able to put my thinking cap on and then built an 8-year career out of it. It's been to this date, just probably the best decision that I had made when I was 26, and now I'm 35 now. I moved to Miami at 21, from Detroit, Michigan, and just was seeking a new opportunity. I got a scholarship to FIU. My parents didn't really believe I was capable of, going on my own at 21, but I've never been afraid of challenge. I'm a big video game player, and life is like a video game to me. You start at level 1 and your goal is to get to level 60. And I was always someone that understood that when you step out into the world, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to have all of the best experience or knowledge, but as long as you apply yourself and move forward in a direction that you feel is, I want to say, synonymous with growth in entrepreneurship and being a person of influence, that you can affect the world. And that's what I've been able to do on a small scale by myself.
Well, first of all, congratulations and kudos to you for listening to the insights from your guests and identifying problems and coming up with solutions into the market space by practically using, your skills, your expertise in IT, and developing a web cloud-based sort of Airbnb hosting service to cater to that problem, gather more data in terms of the market to understand the niche a lot better, and then extrapolate an extension of the ideology and philosophies into now growing an e-commerce, which is part e-commerce and physical sort of business components together. And
Yeah.
this is quite remarkable because it offers to the space innovation, it offers creativity, and you use the concept of and the non-discriminatory method, whereas you saw your participants, the patrons, the guests from the Airbnb normal stream would say, well, because we are users or we are associated by being 420 friendly for health and wellness, because we are now disenfranchised from the mainstream Airbnb's sort of user platform, because we consume for our wellness and health. And you decided, what an amazing opportunity, while the landscape within the United States continues to ever evolve and continuously and rapidly changing, the topography and the broader sort of reach, with more state by state accepting, cannabis within their own localized laws and regulations. My
Correct.
question to you would be, based on the experiences that you were offering within the business, did you see any downside to it, probably having guests smoking inside? Or is it something that is monitored, within, to prevent probably fires, probably if you have like townhouses and other areas that might have attachments, so that you reducing and eliminating the risks that probably might be associated, as you said, that when you would say 420 friendly, probably almost 80% would drop their listing that they don't want to cater to, that sort of, because of the stigmatization that is still surrounded around cannabis. So how did you navigate some of those intricate challenges within the travel and hospitality economy with cannabis?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brandon. So, I like to call myself an agent of hospitality. And in the hospitality space, as a property manager or someone who's operating a home, an investment property, you're going to deal with issues across the board. It's not going to be just related to cannabis. People are going to have problems checking in. They're going to check in with potentially something going wrong with the property. And I saw cannabis as just, I think people's ignorance is really what causes the most problems, not knowing how cannabis affects a property And that is the reason that I feel some people, put no smoking on their Airbnb list. A lot of people kind of cross together cannabis and tobacco, right? So 90% of the hosts, I feel like they put no smoking because they don't want smokers coming to their house and smoking inside of the unit, right? Cigarettes. So my personal journey with going through the acquisition part and pitching to these different landlords was that I asked them, I said, hey, are you okay with cannabis? A lot of them said yes, but the reason that they didn't put smoking allowed on their Airbnb listing is because they didn't want smokers of tobacco coming in and smoking up their unit, which has way more damaging effects than cannabis. So I found that it was really Airbnb not vaguely explaining the rules to where smoking allowed and smoking not allowed was too, I want to say, it wasn't enough of an explanation for people to really understand, that when it comes to cannabis, a lot of people who like I said, would put their listing on Airbnb, they were cool with cannabis. As long as people smoked outside, they were cool with them bringing it. So when I changed the name to, I originally had the company at 420BnB, but the B2B part was hard because I niched myself too hard, right? When I was approaching people, they didn't want to become just a strictly cannabis platform, a cannabis property. So when we changed the company name to VibesBnB, we started focusing the brand messaging around wellness and energy. And what's the vibe? So what's your vibe in Miami? Your vibe can be anything, right? So it wasn't particularly to cannabis, but we wanted to be more about good energy, meeting with the host, having a vibe with the host, and then the host understanding that, hey, I might be a CEO of a company, I might be an executive of a company, I might be a doctor, I might be a firefighter, I might be someone that needs cannabis for medical reasons, and I'm not here to destroy your property. I'm not here to cause issues, despite what the stigma might say about cannabis users and people who really consume the plant. It was more about me having a safe space to bring myself to so that I could relax. That's been really what it's been about, is I want a safe place to relax where I'm not getting fined $250 for bringing my bud with me. I'm not being charged $250 and getting caught by the cameras and being kicked out by my Airbnb host simply because I was smoking weed on the property. I think COVID, it really changed up the landscape because in 2020, when after COVID, cannabis became an essential wellness plant. And now you saw all of these states start recreationalizing and implementing medical policies that were previously illegal in their states. So you saw the cannabis industry experience some sort of boom in 2021. So I started back in 2016. So as I went through the years and I started to, approach people about this concept, I got a lot of objections in the beginning because people were like, I don't know. I don't, jail time, the war on drugs, that sat in people's minds. So they were super against just what the industry taught them about when it came to cannabis and how it affected people. And they thought everybody was crazy and a couple different things. So I just told myself, it's going to be about education in the first part of my career. It's really educating users around how does the cannabis plant affect the human mind? How are people when they are elevated in an elevated status? And not all people smoke, right? We have topicals, you have drinks, you have edibles, you got dabs, and all these different forms to where people really wanted to just be in a safe space and be able to do what they wanted to do without recourse, right? So what I noticed was after 2020, a bunch of people, California and New York, moved to Florida. So you had a booming Florida landscape that has also the most rigorous, not rigorous, but the most uh, vacation rental infrastructure here, to where I felt it made sense to pursue building a cannabis hospitality platform. That we don't manage any properties. We're not in the day-to-day operations. We're simply a facilitator platform where we want to be the go-to marketplace for cannabis style experiences. So anyone in the world where cannabis is legal recreationally and medically, we want them to sign up to our property if they're interested in giving listing their property as a cannabis tourism operator. So if the hotels don't necessarily allow smoking, right? They charge you $500 if you smoke in the hotel rooms, and not a lot of people don't want to go down 30 floors just to go smoke outside. So you have a lot of boutique hotel projects. You have a lot of hotels that are adopting the model where they may make a floor or two smoker friendly, and you really see the industry changing to adapt to the market that's coming on board. And I just saw these market changes as a signal to keep doing what I was doing, keep my foot on the gas. And like I said, now recreational marijuana is on the ballot here for Florida. It's expected to pass. We're looking at maybe 78 or 80% chance to pass. And I just wanted to do something impactful here in Florida. So here we are at the very beginning of that. Just to answer your question before, some of the challenges, obviously when people come in, there's the challenges of furniture damage, right? People dropping their blunts and the combustion, the liability. But what I found throughout my research is that cannabis users are some of the most careful people in the world. We're chill, we're relaxed, we understand that we're visiting someone's property, and we don't want to have these extra fines, right? Some Airbnb hosts that have had cannabis users, they've kicked them out right as soon as they see something on the cameras, or they've charged them $250 because after they've checked out, they'll see the shake on the ground or cannabis on the ground and take pictures of it, send it to Airbnb, and then they get charged $250 2 weeks after their stay. So it just dawned on me that Airbnb kind of profits off of people who don't have communication with the host about their preferences and intentions when they come to a property. And I thought a communication platform that hosts and operators and property managements and realtors and listing agents, if they had a way to communicate with the host and the guests were open about sharing why they're coming and what they were planning on doing, that there would be some operators out there that will be willing to provide the hospitality aspect to some of our users. We know that, based on the data, that users just want to check in, have like a rolling tray, have a grinder, have a nice outside space and a place that was decorated that was nice. People don't want to see the hotel model anymore. They want to see a home away from home, like Brian Chesky says. I think people are focusing more on, at least the B&B models, they want to visit an experience, right? They want to visit a place where they feel accepted. So VibesBnB value proposition is, a joint community platform. We want people to feel that they can come to our space and enjoy their lifestyle the way that they want it. One of our core values is, a unique culture, building a unique culture. We want the culture to come and be able to, really enjoy what we have to offer. 80% of travel is people under the age of 40 that spend the most money. And I just read an article the other day that 60 to 70% of millennials have a cannabis preference. So once it legalizes here in Florida and you have all of these millennials coming to South Beach, coming to Jacksonville, coming to Orlando, coming to Daytona, to St. Augustine, to Key West, to Miami Beach, they're going to be looking for operators that are inclusive of their needs. And that's kind of where we saw ourselves as building a unique platform that caters specifically to the niche of cannabis style experiences. We know cannabis tourism is going to be a huge industry. And if there's anything that we want to do is we want to be the leader in that space. We want to build a technology that is focused on really understanding the needs of our customers and then really implementing features like bud delivery straight from the dispensary to the Airbnb, so that when people book a space, they're able to add on an eighth of their favorite edible cookie, drink, bud, flower, anything that you can think of, and have really an all-in-one platform to where people are able to find their type of vibe, right? So that's why we named the company VibesBnB. What's your vibe? You know, we want to know what people expect out of us so that we can build the right features and implement the right technology and really, you know, compete on a global level for this industry that is now emerging in our market.
Absolutely. And we're hearing it from the horse's mouth. Someone who has built over the years a six-figure plus business within the Vibes BNB space, offering 420 users, inclusion within the travel and cannabis economy. And with that, folks, we'll have our first commercial break and be back for the second half of this highlight with our guest today, Mr. Deontae Mack.
Educanation, a Canadian non-profit organization devoted to improving the quality of cannabis education and care across our nation and around the world. Educanation believes in continued education and support through the three-tiered membership: cannabis education and outreach services, patient education and support through their holistic clinic model. Educanation, providing the highest standard of professional and responsible cannabis education. www.educanation.info.
And welcome back to the second half of this show with your host, Brendon Roberts, in regards to cannabis, travel, and tourism. And we have our guest, Mr. Deontae Mack, who has been here with us today and pretty much elaborating on the opportunities and insights that he saw within the Vibes BNB space, 420 friendly market space, all inclusive and holistic in approach, and have started this model since 2016 and continues to expand with his app on VibesBnB and having over 2,000 individuals, businesses downloading the app with over 300 plus listings. Mr. Mack, the economic impact has to be significant for the industry, the various hosts, and what it is like. Can you pretty much highlight some of the impactful ways that this economic impact is having on the socio-economic effect on the host in regards to the property, in regards to helping spur and stimulate more economic growth within, the various communities in which Vibes BNB 420 Friendly serves?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, VibesBnB is a OTA, right? We're an additional marketplace that allows listing owners, agents, realtors, property management companies to offer a different kind of experience to their guests, right? The same people that are using Airbnb are using us. They just are looking for a more defined experiences that, like I said before, that caters to their lifestyle. So when it comes to property management companies, the ones that I've approached, it's been pretty easy to convince them to list on our platform because we're just additional inquiries, right? Like I said before, we created a mobile app and a website that allows those users to communicate with those property management companies and those listing agents about what their intentions are when they're coming to the property. A lot of the owners just want to be able to achieve their occupancy numbers. The name of hospitality is, how do I stay consistent at 90% every single month while my property is open? It's easy for, one person with one listing with one bedroom. That's the most common type of rental on our platform and on Airbnb in general. And you have some of the more professional hospitality management companies who have 30 units or 100 units or 150 units, right? They're more intertwined with Airbnb because obviously they're the biggest platform in the world, right? We call ourselves Airbnb's cooler cousin, right? VibesBnB. So when we approached these property managers and we told them that, there's an opportunity for, a higher margin for cannabis users that will pay extra, up to 20% extra, to have an inclusive experience, just so that they don't have to pay no smoking fines or have fees or deal with, vacation troubles. We already know that when you travel on vacation and you're staying in an Airbnb in a hotel, the last thing that you want is into a 7-day stay. 2 days after you check in, your reservation's been canceled because of something you were doing late last night at 2 a.m. So we just understood what our users wanted and delivered on a marketplace platform that could really understand our users' core problem and then build a solution for that. So, when I approach people now that cannabis is getting ready to go recreational in Florida, everybody's like, oh, that makes sense. So it went from, oh, I don't know, to, oh, now it makes sense. So acquisition has been really, really easy. Now moving into 2024 and 2025, we expect boutique hotels to start coming online. Vegas is doing a lot of cannabis hotel projects. I think they have the Lexi Hotel over there that, is a model that has some challenges, but it's still a concept that's really early in a market that's very restrictive when it comes to advertising, right? Cannabis, social media platforms still look at cannabis as a drug, right? So it's hard to push rentals for cannabis specific stays because, they ban the word cannabis. I think that's the first thing that they need to do once we go into a more federally, legalized landscape is we need to be able to promote to users that want to find us and have this type of experience through their platform. that's going to help everybody's bottom line. And I think, you know, at some point in the future, you'll find just as many people booking reservations that are cannabis friendly as people who book Expedia or Booking.com or Airbnb stays. So when it comes to this emerging industry, and then you talk about psychedelics that are now emerging as well, you know, it all falls into the same category. You're going to have people that are focused on wellness, their inner body. You know, there's a big problem in the 55 and up community with everybody on these Xanax and opioids and all these different medications that they've been prescribed, to now they're finding out that cannabis is a little bit more natural. You know, it doesn't have as many side effects. So when you ask, well, why do people want to engage in smoking or indulging anything, is because they want to ultimately not die at 50 years old because they've been taking opioid medication for 20 years. You see a lot of people 55, 45, 60 starting to have really serious health complications because of their 20-year prior use of different medications they may have needed because of mental health issues or problems that they may have in their body. You know, so people want to be comfortable. You know, so I believe that you'll continue to see people booking stays that are cannabis related because simply they just want a safe space. They want to be able to relax and vibe out, as I like to say. And there needs to be a platform that's focused on 420 friendly hospitality. That's what VibesBnB is here to build. That's what our core value surround ourselves. That's what our unique value proposition is, you know, bringing a joint community to life and focusing on what users need. Another thing that I realized with these property managers and these listing agents is that some people on Airbnb have in their description 420 okay or 420 friendly downtown Vegas. So you have a subset of users within the Airbnb marketplace that want to offer cannabis friendly experiences, and they're willing to niche themselves and not be so broad to the market. Because I do believe when you put 420 friendly in your description, that you may potentially, shy away families and, people who are just, for religious reasons, maybe against the, smoking anything or indulging anything into their body. There's a lot of people I know that don't have, they go to the gym for wellness and their body and getting themselves right instead of consuming cannabis. And I completely understand those people. But like I tell everybody, you might have a friend that does smoke and they may want to use our service. So even though those people aren't target audience, we believe everybody knows somebody that smokes. I think, there are going to be a lot of people booking special stays with us that may want to book their friend a stay on VibesBnB.com that allows them to, have a space where they're not judged for what they do in their personal time. So from the property management side, I've had personal profound success in that market, and now I'm inviting other users who want to deliver this type of experience to our platform and really start to understand that the same people that are booking your Airbnb space, they're probably smoking. You just don't know about it. So we want to give you a chance to understand their their preferences before they get to your house, so that you might want to leave a rolling tray out. You might want to leave a grinder. You might want to leave. You might want to create a really nice backyard experience. Or if you have a balcony, you might want to put some plants out there and put some, bring some plants to life. Something that I see in the Airbnb market is not a lot of people have a lot of plants in their house. So I feel like cannabis can be its own giant, and there needs to be a company out there that's specifically focused on it. I know Bud and Breakfast, Sean Roby out there in Denver, he's doing his thing. He has the biggest marketplace when it comes to sheer volume, over 2,000 properties. And I just talked to him the other day. He's in Europe promoting over there in Amsterdam and Germany and Thailand, where countries are starting to come online because they're also changing their policy, right? America is leading the discussion when it comes to, well, America leads everything normally, but now that we're starting to open up states, you see other countries starting to implement cannabis-friendly policies. So on a global stage, you just see an immense amount of opportunity when it comes to being a cannabis entrepreneur, as I like to call it. So I think for millennials and people in the younger generation, 24, 25, getting a property and having an income property that can potentially generate you your mortgage plus some profit, and you're catering to a demographic that are willing to keep your property 80 to 90% occupied, that'll be a great way to build your career. Everybody should have at least one investment property, one real estate property where they're renting out to guests, and determining which model that they want to pursue. Maybe you want to pursue all of them, right? You can list it on Booking.com, Expedia, VRBO, Airbnb, and VibesBnB. And then whatever inquiry comes first is really just about keeping your property booked and keeping the money flowing. That's the name of the game, is how do we keep the money in our pocket and deliver a great experience.
And you're hearing it, folks, from the horse's mouth, the young entrepreneur in Miami, Florida, who has developed over the years a six-figure business in the cannabis, hospitality, and tourism economy. And as we bring down the curtains on this episode with our CEO of VibesBnB.com, which is also 420 friendly in accommodations. Where do you see, Mr. Mack, the future of VibesBnB into the foreseeable distance?
So first off, as the president has said, he's allowing states to implement their own policies. So like Maine is doing, they have a cannabis tourism board that is understanding the landscape and understanding the rollout and the product development process of how to implement a successful cannabis tourism industry in some of these states. So right now we're at 34 recreational states, I believe 34, 35, and then and Florida's up for number 25 recreationally, 33, 34 medically, and then 25 recreationally. I believe that you're going to see more states implement their cannabis policies. You saw Michigan really explode with cannabis tourism, not cannabis tourism, but just the dispensaries blew up out there. So you're going to see more states implement policies like DeSantis here, where he wants to ban public smoking in Florida because he doesn't want it to be like New York, which had, obviously exploded with people getting into the cannabis business and selling them at stores and dispensaries and all over, where, you don't want to have an unregulated market. You want to have a regulated market that has oversight and has a way of implementing a successful program that will take these cannabis users that come to your state that simply want to be in, like I said, a safe space where they can enjoy their lifestyle. Most people are coming to visit, some of these states and what they, some of their attractions, and some of them just happen to smoke. So it's really about creating really cool travel experiences. And I feel like the future is VibesBnB, bud and breakfast, boutique hotels, bud hotels with a bud bar. You have 420 friendly events where people will be able to log into our app in our marketplace to be able to find these experiences. Geolocation. We're going to be able to tell you, hey, we see that you're in Vegas. Here's your nearest dispensary. Here's a few parties that you can go to where there's going to be other users like you. And then if you want to do yoga and cannabis, if you want to do a spa and use cannabis infused topicals or oils, there's going to be all of these different experiences that you can book through VibesBnB, um, where you'll be able to really, you know, like I said before, where do you go to book a 420 friendly reservation? It's not Airbnb, it's not booking.com, it's not VRBO, it's not Expedia. It's going to be what we develop as the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So
as you continue to progress, you will even have job fairs on the sites. So somebody might be saying, well, there's a cannabis job located in Miami, may move from Michigan like yourself and taking opportunities through that route. And it has been such a very entertaining and insightful discussion and dialogue with our host today, the CEO of VibesBnB.com, which is also 420 inclusive and accommodative to all users alike. And with that, folks, we will now bring down the curtains on this episode until next time. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Deontae Mack. You have something final to say?
Yeah. So the last final thing is that, BNB right now is going through a restructuring. We're looking for investors. We're looking for people who want to come into our vibe and help build and initiate this 15-year project that we're on. Right now, we're restructuring some things. The website is in stealth mode, so we've already demonstrated that this can be a potential market. So now we're looking to raise somewhere around $3 million for all of the different software features that we have to implement into the next platform. So we're not a robust platform yet, but we're a startup. That's why I joined the Startup World Cup. I was able to get a certificate from the mayor. I was able to, convince the city of Miami to support my initiatives. I think that as we move forward, I need people to reach out to me that are property managers, are listing agents, are people on the Airbnb space that want to offer these kinds of experiences. And then ultimately, I need partners that see where this is going. People who are smart, people who are ready, people who are hungry and want to build something on a global stage. That's what we're looking for. That's what I'm here to lead the charge on. I feel like I can be a great asset to anybody's team. I want to be able to impact the city of Miami and the state of Florida in my own way. And once we'll make an announcement that when we're back live. If you happen to come visit us, you can find us at projectmiamivibes.com. That's our website right now, where you can read about us and find some information. And then eventually, when the website is back up and we relaunch our newest version, we're going to be able to take that and really explode into the marketplace. I was going to save this announcement for later, but we just officially got a partnership with Rolling Loud in Miami, and they've been here for 10 years. So
congratulations.
That's going to be a great thing for us, because it's going to allow us to have more validation, and then a lot more people are going to find out about us this coming December, right before 2025. So right after recreation gets voted on, people are going to vote on it and become, it's going to become recreational. And then you have the biggest events of the year, Art Basel and Rolling Loud 2024 on their 10th anniversary. That's going to be super profound. And we're going to go into 2025 with a new attitude and ready to take over the world.
Well, thanks for joining us, sir. And it's a call to action, and we support and fully, wholeheartedly endorse the sentiments of our CEO here today, Mr. Deontae Mack, who is putting a call out for investors and supporters alike to join the VibesBnB train and to help extend the model all over the United States. And for individuals in the tourism and hospitality sector that see opportunities within that niche, we urge you to reach out to Mr. Mack, owner and
Follow us on
CEO
the
of
social media.
VibesBnB. And
Yeah.
with that, we'll bring down the curtains today. Until next time.
It's a vibe.